Brought to you by 1AAuto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet.
Hi, I'm Don from 1A Auto. I hope this how-to video helps you out. And the next time you need a part for your vehicle, think of 1AAuto.com. Thanks.
In this video, we're going to show you how to replace or do a rear brake job on this 2007 G6. Pretty much the same as any 2005 to 2010 G6, as well as the Saturn Aura. We show you the right-hand side, same as the left-hand side. And you'll need new brakes from 1AAuto.com, jack and jack stands, 13, 14, and 19 millimeter wrenches, as well as the sockets, a ratchet, a large screwdriver, wire brush, a caliper piston reset tool, brake or white grease, and we're going to show you the right hand side. Left hand side is the same procedure, and our car has good brakes on it, so we just take them apart and put them back together to show you. Start by using a 19 millimeter socket, and depending on what wheels you have, this has wheel covers, so you unscrew the caps and then the wheel cover comes off. If you don't have the benefit of air tools, you'll want to loosen the lug nuts with the vehicle on the ground, then raise and secure the vehicle, and then remove the lug nuts, wheel and tire. Okay, with the wheel off, you can see our pads have good life, and run the back of your fingernail along the disc. And there's no grooves. These brakes are actually in pretty good shape, but we'll take them apart and put them back together to show you. And holding the caliper is two 14 millimeter bolts. And we'll speed up here. We use a 14 millimeter wrench on the bolt, and then you actually have to hold the slides with either a 19 millimeter or a 13/16 wrench. Now use a large screwdriver or small pry bar and just pry between the caliper and the disc, and that'll help loosen the caliper up a little bit. Now you can lift the caliper off. Now the pads will pull out. The inside pad, or maybe even the outside pad, you might want to use a screwdriver, a little extra leverage, put it in between the pad and the rotor, and just pry it right out. Two 13 millimeter bolts hold the bracket. And we'll speed up here as we use a 13 millimeter socket with the ratchet to remove those two bolts and remove that caliper bracket. And then we can remove the disc as well. In order to put the brakes back together, we'll need to reset the piston in the caliper, and you need a special tool that actually spins the piston. You can see it there. That's available at most of our auto parts stores. And you put that in with an extension and hook your ratchet up to it, and then hold your caliper steady while you spin the piston back in. So you're both turning the piston and pushing it back into the caliper. Now make sure the slides in your caliper bracket are free. If they're gummed up at all, pull them out like that, clean it up, re-grease them, make sure they're nice and free, and then you'll want to wire brush the stainless steel slides where the brake pads sit. Okay, reinstall the rotor. Now reinstall the bracket and start the bolts in, and then we'll tighten up the bolts, and you'll want to torque them between 25 and 35 foot-pounds. Now apply a little of brake or white grease just right into the slides where you're going to install the brake pads into. The pads have a little notch in them, so you want to make sure that you position your piston at the correct clock position so that it'll slide down over the pads. So we just turn the piston a little bit. Okay, now we're going to take our pads and put them into the slides. Make sure they go in correctly. They should be nice and free and movable. Okay, and make sure also, again, that you have the piston lined up so that it will go right down onto the pad. So we get the pads in place, and now we'll speed up here as we put the piston, or I'm sorry, the caliper back on. And if you have any issue at all with that caliper going down onto the bracket, then just check your brake caliper piston, make sure it's lined up correctly. And we'll put those bolts back on and use our 14mm as well as our 19mm wrench. And you want to just tighten these up nice and snug. They should be about between 18 and 19 foot-pounds. And keep the speed up here as we put our wheel and tire back on, and just start the lug nuts on there by hand first, then tighten them preliminarily. And with the car back down on the ground now, we'll tighten the lug nuts to 100 foot-pounds using a star pattern. And last but not least, put our wheel cover on there, and then put the caps on carefully, only using hand power to tighten those caps up. And last but certainly not least, make sure you pump up the brakes, get a nice firm pedal before road testing the vehicle. We hope this helps you out. Brought to you by www.oneauto.com, your source for quality replacement parts and the best service on the internet. Please feel free to call us toll-free 888-844-3393. We're the company that's here for you on the internet and in person.